is Brooke Justitz, and this is my play biography presentation. The person that I chose to interview was one of my best friends named Ranjini Anirudhan. She lived in Chennai, India from 1999 to 2014, so she was born there, and then she moved when she was a freshman in high school, I believe. Whenever she first came here, she didn't know a lot of English, but she quickly caught on, and me and my group of friends instantly became like inseparable, and she's still one of our best friends to this day. She goes there almost every Christmas and Thanksgiving to visit her grandparents and aunts and uncles who still live there. And then right now she attends the University of Texas in Austin. Some facts about Chennai is that the languages spoken is Tamil, English, and Hindi. Since it is a city, it is still enormously populated with a population of 6.4 million. A major event that took place, or a political event, was that Chennai was the only city in India that was attacked during World War I. It affected not only the economy of India, but also the amount of food and resources available. The cost in clothing also became more expensive. And then because of this, the religious tensions built up when a movement called AutoBiography tried to reconvert Muslims to Hinduism. But today the war is now celebrated as Madras Day. And then little question for you guys, did you know that India was involved in World War I, and even more specifically, Chennai was the only city that got attacked? Okay. Some fun facts about Chennai is that the oldest jail in India, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, in India is in Chennai. And then did you know where the first manufacturing plant of BMW was set up? Guess where? I did not know that before. I was wondering if you guys knew that. A Hindu temple in Chennai, which I do not know how to pronounce, is pictured to the right there. Let's see if I can zoom in. It's actually really cool, and Ranjini's been there. Some cultural norms about her active play was playing with friends outdoors rather than playing by yourself. They emphasize social interaction. The parents and the teachers emphasize that. And then Vygotsky in 1978 stated that through play, children have developed social competence, and that play is a source for young children to learn about the cultural norms and values of society. And then adding on to that, Ranjini's interview confirmed this statement when referring to her active play in India, and it was much more familiar with social competence than social isolation. The perceived value of play in Ranjini's community. The play was encouraged and supported through family members and teachers as long as there were an educational objective behind it. So for example, these building blocks pictured, hopefully you guys can see that. I don't know if you guys had this growing up, but I did, as well as Ranjini did, and her parents actually got them for her as a little child, and this is an example of adding an educational value into the active play, which is what they thought was super important in India. Training the teacher to develop proper programs has proven to be extremely valuable for increasing the quality of services available to children. The context of play, as far as the infrastructure goes, a huge issue in India in urban settings, especially in low crime areas. Since citizens are moving rapidly to cities, this lowers the amount of play space that is available to children. And then a program called ECC is a historical event that impacted play. It stands for Early Childhood Education and Care Program that promotes this provision for care, nourishment, and health and play for children between birth and 6 years, focusing on disadvantaged settings. This program has actually helped Ranjani and her family have access to the resources that they need so children can learn and play under certain conditions. The overall experience of being a child in India, because of that program called the ECC, it gives children the opportunity to play in a healthy environment that they weren't in before. So in lower-income areas that didn't have a lot of resources or oxygen, since there was a lot of pollution going on in a population of 6.4 million, they gave them access to those resources with newer homes, better toys to play with, resources for the parents. Language is a huge issue in India. Since there's a total of 850 languages developed in India, there's still 22 that are registered as official, which means that each child might know one of the 850, or they might know one of the 22 that are actually registered. But then they go to school, and since there's that many categories, they might have to learn a completely new language, which can get in the way of their education. Urban, educated, and wealthier families are seen to be the best category for child development. So basically what this means is that if you are in a lower income area, not getting the resources that you need, then it might not be the best for a child's development in India. But overall, India is known to be a good place for child development if you were raised in the right area. Ranjani stated that she enjoyed growing up in Chennai, even if it was a highly populated area, like 6.4 million people in just one city. The description of Ranjani's play: she usually played with her friends, kids on the same volleyball team as her, which we still play that today, neighbors, and siblings. The description of Ranjani's play, hopefully I'm not covering that. Play was primarily found to be unstructured and informal. It was mainly outside in neighborhood parks. Usually after school and on the weekends, mainly playing sports or at the park or at someone's house. Imaginative play would either play at school or act like they worked at a grocery store. This type of play showed educational skills being incorporated in this act of play, representing how India views play. And then my question down here was, has anyone else acted like they worked at a grocery store and was super serious about it? And if one of your friends wouldn't play along, you would get super mad, because that was me. Okay, so 2 concepts, terms, or theories that I incorporated into the essay and to this interview was one of them being the nature deficit disorder. And many memories of play for both of us took place outside in nature, as well as building creative skills by using pieces of grass and sticks. I know that many kids today face this disorder with their physical contact and intimacy with nature, and that it's fading. I don't know about you guys, but my cousins who are 6 and 7 years old, they play a lot of sports outdoors, but they also own iPads and they have their own phone now. So every time I go and visit them, they are on their iPad playing a new game from the App Store, and they would rather do that than go on a walk with me and my dog or go to the park. So that's an example of that disorder. I also incorporated play frame, which Bateson believed that this was a proposition that indicated a shift from reality to imaginary. And he stated that agree to be in the same world and develop role flexibility. An example of play frame incorporated into Ranjani's childhood is the example of playing school with her friends. They had to agree which one would be the teacher and take on a certain role, while the rest had to be a character that listened to authority. So they basically had to shift from knowing that they're a child, all of them are children, to one of them being an authority, and they had to listen to that person. As far as comparing experiences, play is encouraged in both the United States and India, adding a sense of education being taught behind it. Playing sports is a huge similarity in our act of playing. So she played volleyball since she was 4 years old competitively, and she took that to the United States, and we still play. And then I've been playing soccer since I was 4, and I don't play that anymore, but it was really fun, and it taught us social interaction and friendship and leadership skills. Playing sports in both of our lives has also developed a sense of leadership that we can both take part in now. When having groups for classes, we know when to step up and when to tell somebody that their work needs to be done. An example of adding education to playtime are the toys that are kid size, like brooms and vacuums. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it's a little kid size vacuum with a broom, dustpan, some buckets, and that teaches kids small chores that will help them develop real world skills later in life, and it gives them a chance to actually enjoy it at first, because it usually makes lots of sounds because the vacuum is filled with balls usually, at least that's how my toy was, and it would want us to keep doing it. Comparing experiences to the book, they were similar but different in certain aspects. One difference being Ranjani's grandparents, and then the textbook talking about grandparents in India. The textbook stated that grandparents usually spend great amounts of time engaging with children, which helps the continuity and culture for generations to come. When I spoke to Ranjani during the interview, she mentioned that her grandparents were very strict and that the view on play was nonsense. They believed that the time wasted on play could be used on other developmental activities such as educational purposes and real-world tasks. Similarity about the book and her lifestyle would be the building blocks that I've mentioned before that have letters on them that teach you educational skills. The textbook talks about Indian families having an additional objective behind the simple engagement with children, which relates to the example mentioned earlier about the alphabet, the cool building blocks. So they always have an educational purpose behind it. So for the last part of this presentation, it talks about the reflection for the experience for the future profession. What I want to do when I graduate is be a childhood development specialist. And since I want to be that, this experience will definitely help me understand the difference that some children go through culturally when using the act of play. I've learned that each child has a different experience when playing, and that their culture can have a huge impact in that. It will also help me not automatically understand what is wrong with the child, since we all come from different places and we all learn different things. And that it will help me decide the best method to help the child by branching out and learning about their views on culture and how they were raised. My last question for you guys is, what are you trying to do after you graduate? And if this experience has helped you at all, if you're going into childhood or childhood play or being a teacher, let me know.